of the unbeatens. It'll be asked in Miami of a kid named Tua and a franchise handing him the keys to the kingdom. It's already been asked of Darren Waller, both as a player and as a man. Today, he's here to share his incredible story. It's the start of a new week in the NFL, and you're in the perfect place. This is NFL Total Access. We are hitting the halfway point to the season, my friends. Welcome to NFL Total Access. I'm MJ Acosta-Ruiz. I'm joined tonight by Michael Robinson, James Jones, Sean O'Hara, Maurice Jones-Drew, and Coach Brian Billick. A new week, a new set of problems for the Cowboys. Jerry Jones on the defensive today. We're predicting Dallas's remaining schedule, and we'll tell you if they'll make or miss the playoffs. It's Tuesday, which means the guys are going after someone, in no disrespect, and no better way to get things going than an AFC North showdown. Steelers-Ravens is our NFL Total Access Game of the Week.
They don't like us. We down for sure don't like them.
Well, now what's the blow? We on this hell today.
This is our championship. Today is our day.
Got him. Loose the ball. Now comes back to his right. Throws the pass. Touchdown, Pittsburgh. Flacco's going to be stacked up.
That's big time defense right there.
It's intercepted, and he's in for the touchdown.
The Ravens offense delivers the miracle. There's some hit, there's some jawing, there's everything we thought there would be.
Hit by Polamalu. The ball's out.
He kind of did force Jacoby Jones back into the field.
He's got Steve Smith Sr. Touchdown. Jackson looking to the end zone, fires. Caught for a touchdown. Howard is way inside the 5. Touchdown. The Ravens are back in front.
Driving for the end zone is James Conner for the touchdown that puts the Steelers ahead.
You got two teams that respect one another but don't like one another.
And the Ravens extend their lead.
That is Juju Smith-Schuster getting away for the touchdown. The Steelers have clinched the AFC North.
Woo! All right, here's how these two teams match up this season. The Steelers are the only undefeated team left in the NFL. Ravens stand at 5-1. Pittsburgh also averaging slightly more points per game than Baltimore, but beware of the Ravens defense, which is tops in the league in points allowed. Here's Mike Tomlin on the rivalry.
We're back in the kitchen, man. It's AFC North ball. You know, we like that. We respect it. It's cool to be in what we believe is the game of the week for the third week in a row. We're humbly honored to be in that. We like to show that respect with how we prepare and then ultimately how we play. You know what the Ravens games are about, man. They are a top-notch organization and football team. They got talent across the board. They're familiar with us. We're familiar with them. There's continuity within schematics on both staffs and core players and things, and I think that that's what adds to the intrigue. You should anticipate it being a physical and rough and tumble game because history tells us that.
Our starting roster here. Welcome in Aditi Kinkabwala, Michael Robinson, and D'Angelo Hall. And Aditi, I want to start with you because in the defense, no Devin Bush this week for the Steelers. So how are they adjusting?
Well, that was indeed a significant loss last week, of course, MJ, because he was the play caller of their defense. He's the guy that wore the headset helmet. He's the one that set the defense. But now the Steelers brought in Robert Spillane, an undrafted free agent who prior to the previous week when Bush got hurt had played a grand total of just 2 defensive snaps. And let me tell you, MJ, he lowered his shoulder. He took on Derrick Henry. He earned a lot of applause on this Steelers sideline. There were 2 concerns with him. Not his communicating ability, not his ability to set the defense, but his conditioning. And the Steelers only had him play half the defensive snaps. And then also how he would do against that play action, whether there would be any confusion because of his inexperience and maybe any indecisiveness. On that note, I'll say that he did do well, but I'll turn it to you, D. Hall. Against the Ravens, it does get a little trickier, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Aditi. You talk about this great Pittsburgh defense being able to stop Tennessee, but when you face the Ravens, it is totally different because they incorporate that quarterback into their run game. And so it makes you defend them totally different. And, yes, it's going to be a total group effort. And you best believe Mike Tomlin has told his defense that every player on every level of this defense has to know where Lamar Jackson is. You have to respect him. And ultimately, a lot of times, these safeties, Terrell Edmonds, Mika Fitzpatrick, two of the best safeties in the league. Those two guys are going to be involved in the run game. That is the only way you can combat for a scrambling quarterback in this league, is you got to bring them safeties down into the box and incorporate them into the run game.
You're right. And you know what? The Steelers have actually had some success against Lamar Jackson. Tomlin said that doesn't necessarily mean anything going forward. But let's flip it to the other side, right? Because the Steelers definitely need a bigger rebound game out of Ben Roethlisberger. It was a tough outing Sunday in Tennessee. It started well, didn't go so great. But the one thing that he does have going for him is this absolutely deep group of pass catchers. It's deeper than anybody that he's ever worked with. And it's also kind of a different guy every week. We saw Juju started the season with 2 touchdowns. Then suddenly Chase Claypool came out. Then James Washington had a good game against the Browns. And this past week, it was Deontay Johnson. We asked Mike Tomlin, do you kind of know who the mismatch is going to be every week? And Emrob, I guess it's up to us to guess whose turn it is, right?
Yeah, it is up to us to guess. And Ben Roethlisberger's doing a great job of just getting the ball out to those playmakers. He leads the National Football League in getting the ball out of his hands at 2.29 seconds per drop back. That is phenomenal, right? That doesn't even allow the defense to scheme up a blitz to get it to you. And I think the reason why you're seeing different pass catchers kind of have breakout games every week for the Pittsburgh fallout, taking what the defense gives them and getting the ball to the playmakers. But he's going to definitely have to get the ball out of his hands this week. I mean, the Baltimore Ravens, they blitz at some of the highest rate in the National Football League, and they got a guy that used to play for the Minnesota Vikings, used to play for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Yannick Ngakoue, who's now on this Baltimore Ravens team. He was leading the Minnesota Vikings through the early part of the season in sacks. He definitely knows how to get to the quarterback. They're going to have to keep their eyes on him, maybe keep a back end sometimes to make sure he doesn't disrupt Ben Roethlisberger and his flow.
Emrob, you're right. The Ravens are the only team in the NFL that actually blitz more than the Steelers. But I will leave you with this one. The quarterback who has the best completion percentage against the blitz is Ben Roethlisberger. MJ, it'll be a fun one to watch there, especially with how quickly Roethlisberger has been going through his progressions this year.
No question. What makes this matchup so spicy, these conversations so hype, is the way these teams are playing. But on top of that, of course, as we all know, the rivalry. And no one better to take us through that than Brian Billick. So I want to bring in Coach here to talk about this because, Coach, you were in it, in the thick of it. What was it like being part of that?
Well, it's the best rivalry in football. I think most football people will tell you that. Some great rivalries around the league, but with regards to both organizations, the winning tradition of both teams, and typically these teams are both going to be pretty good. Now, you're talking about 6-0 and 5-1. That takes it even to another level. Last year, the Steelers got swept, but you got to kind of throw it away. Last game was a throwaway game. None of the starters play. First game, Ben Roethlisberger didn't play. The key, obviously, is yes, Ben Roethlisberger is back. He's going to challenge that defense. And this defense with the pass rush, they lead the league in sacks. Their ability to bring Dupree and Watt off the outside, it's going to give Lamar Jackson some issues. And let me show you some tape. Here's what I think Lamar Jackson's going to have to do. Last year, he ran 7 times for 160 yards. Certainly that's going to be a factor. But with a 4-man rush, this is against the Cleveland Browns. This is what the Steelers can't do. They can't, on a 4-man rush, leave this kind of alley. And what Lamar Jackson can't do is just arbitrarily pull it down and run, although he's very good at it. Here, he keeps his vision down the field. As they react to Lamar Jackson, he finds that hole in the zone. Now, even more so, we're going to look at another play against the Cleveland Browns. This, again, is a 4-man rush. I expect a little bit more 5-man rush from Pittsburgh. Motion right now tells you it's man coverage. Lamar Jackson know with man, if I can buy some time in the huddle, and he does a great job. He doesn't just bail and run out. He moves around and moves to the right, moves back to the left, because he knows whether it's Mark Andrews, whether it's Marquise Brown, someone's going to work open versus man, and he can deliver a shot like that. So I think the big key is the pressure they can put on Lamar Jackson. Can they minimize the big plays down the field? And, of course, Ben Roethlisberger has to do against the Ravens what he's been doing all year long. He's raised the level of that young receiving core, and they're very dynamic right now. The Ravens have got to get pressure on him. This is going to be classic Steelers and Ravens. Typically, the winner, 3 points or less.
I love that, Coach. And, of course, another exciting chapter added to this storied history between these two teams. Coach Billick, thank you. All right, moving on to the Cowboys. Things last week as they fell to the Washington football team 25-3. Dallas scored their fewest points in a divisional matchup since week 16 of 2002 in a loss to the Eagles 27-3 in that instance. Here's Jerry Jones earlier today getting a little defensive.
Does your team have a leadership void?
When we're in the offensive line, where
just overall, when these.
But seriously, where would you have a leadership void? Is it an experience void? Is it a talent void? Is it a leadership void? I'm not trying to be cute here. The answer is no. The answer is no.
I'm asking.
There's not a. Well, just shut up and let me answer. No.
Jerry, when you go into the locker room, what I'm asking is, do you see the intangibles?
You're not asking me that. I gave you the answer. When I go into the locker room, there's no leadership void in my eyes.
Okay.
Now that's your answer. Let's move on.
All right, he spoke. No and no. James Jones and MJD here with me to predict the rest of the Cowboys' 2020 schedule. James, you got first game, Eagles on Sunday. What's the verdict?
Well, you heard the owner say, let's just move on. So they moving on to the Eagles, and I'm saying they are going to find a way to win. And listen, the hardest game to get after all this stuff out of the locker room is happening and all this stuff from the players is coming out and coaches is coming out. The hardest game to win is the first game after all this stuff, man. So they win this ball game.
JJ, you do not play for Mike McCarthy anymore. Stop. Stop it. Pittsburgh lost. No explanation needed. We just heard a whole thing about it. Pittsburgh, that's a loss for the Cowboys.
Vikings, W, Drew. W for the Vikings. Go ahead. Who you got?
Okay, the football team. We saw what happened this past weekend. I think it's going to be the same thing, another loss. I just believe that they have a talent issue now. It's not even a coaching issue. It's just you're so banged up that you don't have enough there. So, loss.
Well, back-to-back losses because Lamar, Action Jackson, and the Ravens, we know what the Cowboys defense is giving right now. They're giving up everything, the run, the pass, everything. Lamar Jackson, they lose that game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a loss again against the Bengals. I believe in Joe Burrow and company. They're getting better. Listen, at the end of the day, you have to have talented players to win in this league. If you don't have those guys because of injury, you're not going to win, Jay. You know this, Jay. Why are we doing this?
So the wins that we got up there right now is against very average teams. So you're going to have to beat a good football team. I'm going to say they find a way to beat a good football team in the Niners and win this ball game right here. You can't win all the easy ones. You got to find a way to win the tough ones. They win this one, Drew.
Listen, I believe Carson Wentz and company, they find a way to win. I believe the Dallas Cowboys, they find a way to lose week after week. It's another loss for me.
Well, this whole division finds ways to lose, Drew. And that's the Giants as well. So I'm going to say the Cowboys finish off strong with a W. I don't know if it's finish off strong because I don't know how many wins that is for the season, but they find a way to beat the Giants in this game.
I don't know what to say to you.
James Jones. 6-10, you guys have them finishing here. But James Jones, they're going to beat the Niners. Bye. I'm done. Bye.
You got to win a tough game.
Appreciate y'all. That's not going to be the one, though. James Jones, MJD, thanks. All right, let's get you caught up on what's happening across the NFL. Tom Pelissero with us now. Staying with the Cowboys, they made another move today, Tom.
That's right, MJ. The Cowboys traded defensive end Everson Griffin to the Detroit Lions for a conditional 6th-round draft pick in 2021. Now, we know that Dallas has been struggling on defense. They had a little bit of a logjam at defensive end once Randy Gregory came off his suspension. Frankly, the Cowboys thought that Griffin had lost a step, that he was starting to get frustrated about that. Well, by moving on from him, not only do they get the pick, they free up snaps for other people. They also take about $3 million in salary and bonuses off the books. You see the comment from Jaron Kearse, his former Vikings teammate. They're now reunited with the Lions. Detroit thinks that they are getting a really motivated guy who knows this division. He is still a good player. It's pass rush at a low cost. They want to have a rotation of rushers after getting only 8 sacks through the first 6 games. Now, because of the COVID-19 protocols, Griffin will not be ready to play this Sunday against the Colts, which means, MJ, his Lions debut will come November 8th against his old team, the Vikings, in Minnesota.
All right, let's stay on the topic of timelines. Antonio Brown is in the Bucs facility. What is the timeline on when he can play and practice?
Well, MJ, Antonio Brown signed his one-year, $1 million deal with the Bucs this morning. It also includes $1.5 million in incentives. For now, he can do practically everything except practice or play. He can be in meetings. He can do strength and conditioning. Will not play Monday night against the Giants. But come next Tuesday, his suspension will be lifted. He can make his debut November 8th against the Saints. Comes at a good time for Tampa because Chris Godwin suffered a fractured left index finger on a touchdown catch against the Raiders last week. He will not play Monday night, potentially after having surgery this morning, could get back against the Saints. Meanwhile, another veteran receiver, Dez Bryant, has found a new home. He is signing to the Ravens practice squad. He wrote on Twitter his emotions were running high. He can't stop crying. His goal, of course, make his way to Baltimore's active roster. He has not played in a regular season NFL game, MJ, since New Year's Eve 2017.
It has been a minute, I'm sure, anxious to get back out there. Tom Pelissero, thank you. He was called the ultimate risk reward. Ability, undeniable. Character, unmatched. But health, uncertain. Even in the best hands, this kid was never a sure thing. But then it happened.
Even Fitz is leading the ovation.
The torch is passed. Will the test be too? Our watch is set for Tua time. Plus, the top matchups in the week to come and the top mess-ups in the week that was.
Jones is going to run it.
I mean, no disrespect, but...
He stumbles and he falls down at the 10.
Seriously?
Oh, my God, he had a one.
NFL Total Access, just getting started.
Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback, University of Alabama. The NFL is getting someone who's very competitive, someone who just wants to make a difference in an organization.
Alabama in business with Tua Tagovailoa showing the way.
To my family and friends, I just want to thank you guys.
That was Tua then, and this is Tua now. Miami's rookie QB saw his first NFL game action in Week 6. The team named him the starting quarterback shortly thereafter. Dolphins had a bye last week, which gave Tua a little extra time to prepare for the Rams. Let's bring in our experts, our Super Bowl winning coach, Brian Billick, our GM, Scott Pioli, and, of course, our main guy, Maurice Jones-Drew, to talk a little Tua time in Miami. Now, the question remains, why now? The Dolphins very much in the mix. The AFC East is wide open. Scott, take us through that front office. How are decisions like this made?
Well, MJ, I think the way that good decisions are made is that the head coach makes this decision. The job and the role of the general manager in good organizations and with good decision makers is done when there's a collaboration, right? The GM's responsibility is to ask the head coach questions, to play contrarian, to not necessarily play games in that sense, but to push the head coach to get to the place that he needs to be, right? The goal is to make the best decision and to make the right decision. So what happens there is coaches have meetings with themselves, then they meet with the GM, and the GM needs to hear what the head coach wants to do, because coaches truly have the pulse of the locker room, of the meeting rooms, of on-field. General managers see a lot of things, but we are not living day to day with the players. So I really think that there's a big difference between the GM questioning the head coach and asking the head coach questions. And again, I really believe that the best decisions are made is when you play a little bit of a contrarian. Coach Billick, how do you feel?
Yeah, and it's clearly an organizational decision, even though the head coach, as you aptly point out, probably needs to lead that conversation. And you've got to know that this was probably the plan from day one. Chan Gailey, Brian Flores had a sequence of practices and what they're doing with the offense, because obviously it's going to be a different offense. You're not going to ask Tua to do what Fitzpatrick did. You wouldn't ask Fitzpatrick to do what Tua does. So now they've had the bye week to make that transition. They've been preparing for it. I can't imagine Chan Gailey hasn't been slowly infusing those things into the offense that obviously Tua is going to be very good at. They're going to shrink it down a little bit. But you knew we were going to get here, and after the bye week was the perfect place. Unfortunate for Fitzpatrick, but I will say this, it's the right thing to do, because every snap that Tua takes for the rest of the season is going to make the Miami Dolphins better in 2021.
All right, looking ahead, and as we pivot, because now the decision is done, as we know. Now we have to look to his first matchup, and for that, MJD, I turn to you. He's facing the Rams. What is going to be his biggest challenge on that day?
Well, MJ, it brings me back to the time when I was with Blaine Gabbert in Jacksonville, and we had a rough outing against the New York Jets, and the next week I forget who we played, but the game plan was very simple. We wanted to run the ball. We want to do short passes to get Blaine in rhythm, as I think the Miami Dolphins should do, and then take our opportunities down the field and take shots when we had the chance to. And I think when you're playing the Los Angeles Rams defense, who's ranked second in points per game right now, I want to say second in passing yards per game as well, and you have this man that we're watching here right now, Aaron Donald, running down on your quarterback, you don't want to see these type of hits. So you want to protect them. And granted, again, sometimes you have to put your quarterback out there. We call that baptizing him by fire. But you know what? No better place than now, I guess, for the Miami Dolphins to get Tua ready against one of the top defensive players in the game.
You say Aaron Donald's name, and you already know I'm crossing my fingers and my toes for Tua on Sunday. And yes, look at that smile. I'm ready for that matchup. Guys, thanks for the insight. We'll check in with you a little later.
And off we go from Glendale, Arizona. Quick throw over the middle. Picked off. Isaiah Simmons has it to win the game here in overtime. Hit from Gonzalez is up. It looks good. It is good.
I cannot believe it. What a ball game.
Stafford throws deep down the field. It is caught. Stafford empty out of the gun. He's got it. Looks, throws, and caught. Oh, baby, how big is that?
Throws, right sideline. Oh, what a catch by Higgins. Looks, going towards the end zone. Touchdown! He got it! He got it!
Joey Sly will attempt an NFL record 65-yard field goal.
This kick is no good, just short.
Tannehill firing right side for Brown. He's got it. It'll be a 45-yarder.
Kicks it on its way. The kick is wide right. It is no good. Wow, I can't even hardly believe it. The Steelers are 6-0.
That was some of the best of Week 7. Rob and JJ back with me to look ahead at Week 8. Rob, start us off. What's your matchup that you're really watching in Week 8?
Yeah, I'm looking at new running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, Le'Veon Bell, playing his former
Browns and the Raiders facing off. Listen, I believe this is a must-win for both ball clubs, and I understand the Browns are a three-game winning streak right now. But listen, the Raiders coming off a bad week last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Derek Carr has to respond, has to answer. They cannot lose. The Kansas City Chiefs is already running away with this division. We see what Pittsburgh is doing and the Ravens are doing. They play each other. So the Browns have a chance to make up some ground. How is Baker going to look without OBJ? He looked real good without him last week. Can he continue? And Derek Carr and that Raiders ball club has to bounce back.
All right, JJ talking a little redemption as we head into Week 8. Time now for some next-gen stats powered by AWS. Because, James, I'm actually looking at your boy Devontae Adams, who showed out on Sunday to the tune of 196 yards on 13 catches, 2 touchdowns, and he caught passes from every route imaginable. Go routes, crossing routes, screens, ins, outs. He did it all for the Packers. Let's see if he can keep it going Sunday versus the Vikings. All right, looking at the schedule, it wouldn't be a stretch to call this rivalry week in the NFL. But within each of those games, there are matchups that will decide who gets beaten and who gets bragging rights. We'll tell you what to look for after the break. All right, in case you missed it last night, let's take it out. Bears at Rams at SoFi Stadium under the Monday night light. Third quarter, Bears ball trailing 17-3. Second and 4. Nick Foles throws for Darnell Mooney, but it's tipped and intercepted in the end zone by Taylor Rapp. That was one of 2 picks on the night for Foles. Not a great night for Foles. Rams sideline loving it, though. Ensuing Rams possession, 1st and 10. Jared Goff hits Gerald Everett for the 12-yard touchdown. Rams win it 24-10. Goff finished 23 of 33 for 219 yards and 2 touchdowns. If you're looking for more rivalry games to watch in Week 8, look no further. Sunday, Steelers-Ravens, we talked about it. Patriots-Bills going on as well. Chargers-Broncos, Niners and Seahawks, that'll be a good one. And Cowboys and Eagles as well. These guys know a thing or two about playing in a rivalry game. Time now for Players Only. Take it away, Rob.
Thank you, MJ. Yeah, we're going to bring in Sean O'Hara, our resident center here, to the conversation as well. And, guys, we're talking about rivalry games. 2 of my old teams are playing this weekend, rivalry games. Seattle Seahawks San Francisco 49ers. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. Before it really became a rivalry, I was playing for the San Francisco 49ers, got traded a week before the season, played those guys, playing with the Seattle Seahawks, played the San Francisco 49ers 5 days later, man. It was so weird. But the crazy part about it is I feel like I got the best out of this because I ended up getting a Super Bowl a few years later. You guys remember Sherman in the end zone, tipping the ball? There you go, right there. I'm not here to brag. No, I'm not here to brag. But the crazy part about a rivalry game is, guys, is that most of the time, I always told people, if you lock both of us in a gym or whatever, a lot of times we wouldn't be fighting. We'd be playing cards and hanging out because we were literally built the same exact way, and that's what made the rivalry so rich, guys.
You're absolutely right, Imrod, man. But listen, we all know the Bears, the Packers, the longest rivalry in football. But that ain't what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the rivalry with me and my guy, D. Hall. That's what I miss. Going at it with my dog right here. We go, and we bringing out the old thing. The battle right here. This is what I miss right here. Going at it with my dog. You see me?
How you missed that tackle, D?
Hey, but hey, he get me back right there. He calls the fumble, touchback, calls the fumble, man, knocked it out my hand. I'm trying to reach for the touchdown. You know, I miss those type battles. Now I'm on TV with my dog, so I get to talk to him about it, man.
That's so dope, man.
James Jones, man, one of the hardest dudes I've ever had to cover in my career. Bank that. But, man, you talk about rivalries, man. How can you not mention the Cowboys and that team that used to be, you know, in Washington, man? And you talk about one of the fierce rivalries, man. I grew up in, you know, down in the Virginia Beach area. And so to see Darryl Green and Michael Irvin going at it, and then when I finally got my chance to be a part of this rivalry, of course, T.O. was there. And then my good old buddy Dez Bryant. I'm just trying to make a tackle right there. And you know rivalries really get intense when you got another guy on the other side that feels like he wants some of you, you want some of him. I'm just trying to make a tackle. Dez thought I was going for his legs. So, you know, me and him had a couple words face to face. But I love it when he tried to swing on me, and I don't flinch at all, man. You know.
D-Hall, I know how you get down, bro. I know how you get down.
It wouldn't be a players-only get-together if there wasn't a little trash, right? I love that we're dusting off the film from back in the day. I played in two big rivalries, the Browns and the Steelers, and the Giants and the Eagles. You guys know, when it was divisional games, boy, Mondays, you felt a lot more sore than any other week. And I loved playing against the Eagles. It was always the most physical game. It was always the most matchup. The matchups were always the best. Here's Brandon Jacobs running over the defense. We rushed for 200 yards. This was 2008. Look at big Brandon Jacobs just barreling his way into that defense. Brian Dawkins, all he can do is stand and watch. We had Earth, Wind, and Fire rocking there. That was a fourth down stop by Chase Blackburn. But the divisional games, man, they meant so much. The pride was on the line, and you started to build that hatred for the other squad. I miss it. I love it. I will say this. As much as we're talking about rivalry, I love the fact that Mike Robb and JJ are wearing the same damn shirt. That's awesome. Are you guys stepbrothers?
It's not the same shirt. It's not the same shirt. I see what you're trying to do, Sean. You crazy.
D-Hall.
I got you.
D-Hall, that's the same shirt, and you know it.
I got you.
All right, I can't leave you guys unsupervised for 1 second. We've got a division rivalry on Thursday night. Falcons-Panthers, Matt Ryan versus Teddy Bridgewater. That's Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Fox, NFL Network, and streaming on Prime Video. Let's open up the playbook on that one. Our Super Bowl winning coach Brian Billick joining us. Coach, what is one aspect of this matchup that you're keeping your eye on?
Well, I'm going to get right to the film because it's about the running game. Mike Davis had 149 scrimmage yards in the last time these two teams played. And he and Christian McCaffrey, hopefully he'll play. But they got to be better in the offensive line. You're going to see here with a little power play, the left guard pulls. The center and the tackle need to step back and peel this off, and they don't. Jarrett, number 97, blows this play up before it even has a chance to get downfield because they don't execute that turn back. Now you're going to see just a basic ISO play. The tight end motions into a fullback position. They've got a hat on a hat, but the right tackle jumps outside. The last thing you need to do is give an inside path for Khalil Mack. And again, they don't give the play a chance to get started. And this one's just a mental error. They're going to run a little wham play. The fullback's going to come in and wham on the defensive tackle. But the right tackle needs to obviously turn out. But the center and the right guard, they both go up to the second level rather than the guard turning out to account for the end. And now you can see Hicks crashing down and destroying the play. So if they get Christian McCaffrey back, that'd be great. Open it up a little bit more. But the offensive line's going to have to execute a little bit better. For Atlanta, it's all about Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. They've got to create those big plays down the field to take advantage. Maybe put a little pressure on Teddy Bridgewater to keep up with those explosive plays in Atlanta.
Coach, all I know is I like what I've been seeing from Teddy B so far. And the Falcons, we know what they're capable of. They just got to close it out. Coach Billick, thank you. All right, after the break, we're going to take a second look at some plays that are giving us second thoughts. The Week 7 moments that had us saying, no disrespect, but... And Daniel Jones
just threw him out of the club. Goodbye.
Be one heck of a bouncer, wouldn't he?
Brady is taken down. Khalil Mack steps up and gets a sack. Yeah, against the rookie, Tristan Wirfs, and his body slammed there.
Oh, that's painful.
Wow. Oh, yeah. What was he thinking?
That's a touchdown off the board.
Hurdle a player in the goal flap. None other than it's Darius Leonard.
Not
just
today.
throwing him right back to the turf. And the maniac says, nuh-uh, what are you thinking?
With a stiff arm, throws a man down. He took him off of his feet. Oh, my goodness. He just made Josh Norman reconsider whether or not he wanted to play again.
Time now for no disrespect. You know when someone says no disrespect, they're about to straight get disrespected. James, you up first, big dog.
Hey, listen, no disrespect. D-Hall, you was about to fight because Dez Bryant thought you took his knees out. Chase Claypool, we all gonna fight if this happens to us. Chase Claypool does this right here. No disrespect, but you cannot do this to another grown man.
Oh, that was so dope.
We are both
that was so dope.
I know all y'all with me. You cannot do this. No disrespect, but
that's
no,
a
that ain't going down, brother.
We slapped him in the face, bro.
Oh my goodness. Well, look, you guys remember that? You guys remember that game called Chin Checking? Well, no disrespect to Jeremy Chin right here, but Andrus Pete just gave it to him on the chin, and no disrespect. I got a video right here, and I'm not even a part of the quad box. So I'm getting no disrespect right now by my man Jeff Lasucci. But yeah, great block there by Andrus Pete, as you see right here. Well, here comes the chin check. In case you missed it, there you go. They had MJD's picture up while I was talking. You want to talk about disrespectful? Holy smokes, this thing's off the rails.
Hey, look, man. Well, shoot, my
New York Giants.
Oh boy,
come on.
Here we go.
Daniel Jones, what are you doing? Your brain going way too fast. Way too much faster than your body. Go to the ground, son. Oh my goodness. The thing about it, this happened to me when I was in college once too, man. I'm telling you, your brain just like, I got it.
Oh,
and then you don't got it.
MJ,
back over to you, man. We off the chain over here.
All right, guys, the ladies will take it from here. It's time for the checks list. Kimmy Checks joining me now in all her NFL fantasy glory. Kimmy, it happened, girl. I won this week in fantasy, believe it or not. I know. Finally. But you have some waiver wire targets, and it's all because of you. You have some waiver wire targets, starting with running back Chase Edmonds.
All right, so unfortunately, Kenyon Drake is looking like he's going to miss a few weeks, which is why Chase Edmonds now enters the conversations. Now, if you've been watching this segment, I have said his name plenty of times because he's really good. He's averaged over 15 fantasy points in 3 of the last 4 games, and he's still only being started in 10% of leagues. All right, I'm going to do another guy, and instead I want to do a wide receiver because, again, a lot of injuries this last week. Odell Beckham Jr. tore his ACL. He is out for the rest of the season, which means Rashard Higgins now has an opportunity. He's available in 100% of NFL.com leagues, and he's had a touchdown in 2 of the last 3 games. All right, another one for you, MJ. Your San Francisco 49ers. Brandon Ayuk, he's coming off a season-high game, his best performance yet, and Deebo Samuels is going to miss some time. He was the most targeted player, and he ran the most routes on the team. Last one. Teddy Bridgewater. Earlier you were talking about the TNF matchup. Teddy Bridgewater, he's been great in fantasy all season long. The Atlanta Falcons are allowing the most fantasy points to quarterbacks this season. So if you need a streamer because your guy Kyler Murray is out on a bye, go pick up Teddy B.
He's been available in our league too, Kimmy. All right, listen, be sure to check her out along with the rest of the NFL Fantasy Live crew weekdays at 6 p.m. Eastern right here on NFL Network. Let's get to your Pepsi Rookie of the Week nominees. It's the roll call. Here we go. First up, we got Joe Burrow. I feel like I see this guy every week. Justin Herbert as well. James Robinson, Antonio Gibson, and Harrison Bryant. You can go to NFL.com to vote. The winners will be announced on Friday right here on NFL Total Access. After the break, a story